On Larry King Now, New Girl star Jake Johnson.
Do you get to use your improv talents in New Girl?
Yes.
A lot is unscripted?
A ton is unscripted.
Now, do the writers care, since you're taking their
That's a
script
good question.
and basically blowing it out?
That's a good question. I think some of them appreciate it. I think some of them probably hate us.
On the show that made him famous.
When the show started airing, people started commenting on how my face was reacting. But I never thought I looked anything like a turtle until I got on New Girl, and then
But
people.
you do a turtle, right?
I don't.
Show me a turtle.
On his new film, Digging for Fire.
Described as mumblecore. What does it mean?
I think what it means, if you the mean term is that you're just mumbling through the script. Is my guess.
That doesn't sound like the kind of thing you'd want to run to see.
Unless you like mumblecore.
Plus, does your wife work?
She's a painter. She actually did that dog right behind your head. It's beautiful. It's photorealistic.
All next on Larry King Now. Jake Johnson is our special guest on this edition of Larry King Now. He's been called America's boyfriend thanks to his breakout role on the Fox hit comedy New Girl, now going into its 5th season. Jake's also making a name for himself in the world of mostly independent film. He starred in movies like Drinking Buddies, Safety Not Guaranteed, Let's Be Cops, and a recent outlier, Jurassic World. And now he's co-written and produced his first feature, which he also stars in. It's called Digging for Fire. We'll talk about that in a while. But first, New Girl, how did that thing come about? How did you come to it?
Well, you know, I had done an independent movie called Ceremony, directed by Max Winkler, Henry Winkler's son. And I got to know Max well, and he was a great guy. And we did this movie, and Liz Merriweather, the creator of New Girl, saw it and liked my performance and had me audition for No Strings Attached, which was an Ivan Reitman movie. I got that part, and then when that movie opened, it opened pretty big, and it was #1 in the box office. And that Monday, New Girl got picked up, and Liz said, "Come audition."
Now, you were a sketch comedy guy, right?
Yeah, you know, I started doing sketch and improv and that kind of Chicago scene, and then I did the Upright Citizens Brigade out in New York, and so kind of came to film and TV through the stages.
Do you get to use your improv talents in New Girl?
Yes.
A lot is unscripted?
A ton is unscripted.
How does that work?
So the way it works on New Girl is they'll write a script, they'll have the scene, and everything will work. So if we just do the script word perfect, the show's gonna work and it's gonna, you know, we're gonna have what we need. But what we'll do is we'll get it, we'll cover the script, and then we'll just open it up. And we won't open it up in a way where we're talking about anything. We will stay, you know, about what the scene is, but we'll do different jokes, we'll do different moments. And then we'll give Liz Merriweather, our creator, like 10 different options. And then she'll pick whatever she likes. But when you're on season 5 of a show, if they consistently use those improvs, that slowly starts to change a character. So as you're improvising and your character's changing around the improv, the writers start writing for where you're gonna improvise.
Does the home audience know this?
I don't really know. You know, our audience is really wild. We've got a really great core group, but a lot of them are young. So if they know, I don't even think some of them care.
Now, do the writers care, since you're taking their
That's a
script
good
and
question.
basically blowing it out?
That's a good question. I think some of them appreciate it. I think some of them probably hate us.
Yeah.
Because we say their lines and then we start improvising.
Is it often not their lines at all?
There's always parts that aren't, but you know, what the writers really do is make sure the stories work and every moment works. So we never improvise story points. We never improvise something that's going to change a scene. We're just improvising jokes.
Different from Curb Your Enthusiasm, where they just give them the outline. They don't give them a script, and then they play with everything.
Well, I did an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. It was one of my first jobs, if not my first TV job. And it was my part to say the N-word casually. And so I got the audition, and I was really nervous about it. But, you know, to work with Larry, I was like, I'll do anything, man. He's the best. And so the job is I'm on a cell phone and I say the N-word, and he hears. And that starts a big episode where then he's talking about it and Garland hears.
It's a great show.
It's a great show. And so I do the scene. And it's really uncomfortable to say that word, especially as like you're a goofy little white boy. They call cut, and nobody in the crew laughs. Larry doesn't laugh. There's just a long pause, and Larry David goes, "That was almost too realistic." And everybody looks at me because it's improvised like I wanted to do it. My hands were shaking. I was like, "Get me out of here, man. I want to go home."
Did it run?
Yeah, it did.
Where did this faces thing come in? Where you do faces?
Faces. You know, honestly, I don't know.
Did you do that in improv?
No. So I think what happened is, you know, with improv, you are reacting, but you're always talking. You guys are always trying to figure it out. And on TV, even if I was improvising, like for the first season of New Girl, I'd be in a scene with a guy named Max Greenfield playing Schmidt, and they would write him a monologue that would be a page long. And he'd be going and going and going. But we shoot it like this, where there's always a camera on him and there's always a camera on me. So if I'm sitting for 4 hours and somebody else is doing a monologue, I can only sit like this for like 10 minutes. And then you start reacting to it. And when the show started airing, people started commenting on how my face was reacting. But I never thought I looked anything like a turtle until I got on New Girl. And then people.
You do a turtle, right?
I don't.
Show me a turtle. That's a turtle.
Supposedly. So now people tell me I have turtle face, which, you know, is not the greatest thing in the world to hear.
What a thing to go through. Do your turtle face. I feel embarrassed asking.
It's not even Dance Monkey, it's Do the Face, Turtle Boy.
One of your co-stars, Damon Wayans Jr., left the show.
He did, yeah.
Why?
Because he's a snake and a rat, and he belongs under the bridge. No, he left the show because he only had a 1-year contract, and he's doing a lot of stand-up. And TV, for what it's great, and that's you have a great job and you work with people.
You, right?
It does, and it's so many hours and it's long days. And I think he just wanted to go off. He and I did Let's Be Cops, the movie together.
My kids just watched that. They love that show.
Oh, they did? Oh, cool, thanks.
They love that movie.
Yeah, thanks. He's one of my favorite guys.
Let's talk about Digging for Fire. More dramatic than previous.
Yeah, Digging for Fire, the main part of that for me is the director, Joe Swanberg. He and I did Drinking Buddies together. We just shot another one this summer in Chicago called Win It All. And I just find him to be a real special, unique talent. He's, like this one, I'm billed as, co-writer. But this is a wildly improvised movie.
Described as mumblecore?
Yeah, mumblecore is a term that a lot of these directors like Mark Duplass and Lynn Shelton, there's a banner over them, but I really don't even know what it means.
What does it mean?
I think what it means, if you're the mean term is that you're just mumbling through the script, is my guess.
That doesn't sound like the kind of thing you'd want to run to see.
Unless you like mumblecore. But I don't really know. I know that group of directors, Joe included, are wildly talented. I've had the fortune of working with all three of them, and that's not to say they're the only ones in that movement. But the films these people are making are great. What the Duplass brothers are doing are excellent. Lynn Shelton is excellent. So.
Is Digging for Fire a serious movie?
It's a mix, but it is a drama. It's loosely based off a true thing that happened to me when I was living in Atwater Village, right next to here. My wife and I were renting a house, and we were going to put a garden in the backyard of our rental. And so she said, we got to dig into the ground a little bit because the soil's bad. So we were going to replace it. And so I went about 2 feet deep, and I found a rusted gun. And so I thought, it's a little weird. So I put it to the side, and I kept digging, and I found a bone that was about that big. So,
true story.
100% true, no exaggeration. So I was like, it's a little weird. Kept digging, then I found a plastic bag full of bones that looked like it had gotten chopped up.
And now Law and Order.
Yeah. Well, so I didn't know what to do.
Cold case.
Yeah, cold case. That's right. That's where my brain went. And I watch all those shows, so I had the whole thing in my head. So I did what any human being would do, and I called the police. And the LAPD told me it's not our job to dig out somebody else's garbage. So I was left with a situation that in my backyard.
They had no interest?
No interest. They said, if you pull out a body, call us. If you pull out some garbage.
You're kidding.
No. And they go, is it a real gun? And I'm like, what do I look like, a gun expert? It's a rusted old gun. They're like, it could be a cap gun. I'm like, you're right. They're like, it could be an animal's bone. And I was like, you're right.
You take it from there. We're talking to Jake Johnson. Coming up, Jake on his comedy roots, on why he used to wear a catering outfit at home. Hey, I'm only here. That's next. Back with Jake Johnson. When will we see Digging for Fire?
I think it's August 21st. It's in New York, LA, and Chicago, and I think you can get it on VOD that same day.
A lot of cameos in the movie.
A lot of cameos. We had an unbelievable cast. It was something that a lot of people wanted to jump out. And I think people will really like this movie. I
Shot
think
on film, right?
Yeah, Joe likes to shoot on film.
Doing improv.
You know, it's a different kind of improv than New Girl. It's you rehearse the scene and you shoot it once or twice and you better have gotten it.
When you're doing independent working like this, do you have a boss?
Nope. Nope. That's kind of a big thing about it. There was no studio, there were no executives. It's all the actors are the kind of talent. We have a great crew. We keep the movies inexpensive. We view them as, you know, they're going to open in select cities, and then we view them as VOD movies, movies you can see on your computer at home with your...
What's it like producing?
Well, producing with Joe's really fun because he's a big believer in a relaxed set and having a couple beers while working. So I can produce that kind of movie. I don't think I could produce a movie like Jurassic World. I think that kind of stress is above my pay grade, but helping produce a Joe Swanberg movie where you're hanging out in Chicago or in some beautiful backyard in LA drinking an IPA, if that's a producer, then I can do that.
How'd you start? In Chicago?
I started in Chicago, and then I went to University of Iowa, and I went for the writing program, and then I went to New York University.
NYU.
NYU. And then I stayed out there and I did sketch comedy for years, and then I came out here when I was 26.
I understand you came to LA with nothing, no money, nothing?
Well, I had about $1,000, and I had a Hyundai Accent that was lime green and stick shift with no AC.
So
Beautiful
how did you get
number.
A break? What was your first job?
My first job was a buddy and I, Eric Edelstein, who we lived in the same building in Las Palmas. We wrote a sketch show and we put it up at Second City on Melrose. And a guy named Jeremy Connor, who's now the director of Drunk History and Another Period, another show on Comedy Central, he saw it and we shot a short video of it. And NBC bought that video. And so then we got agents and managers and started pitching shows.
Jake, there's something puzzling here.
Huh.
You're on a hit TV show in its fifth year.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park was an incredibly largest grossing movie of me. Why are you still fooling with independence? You're a star now?
Because I prefer them.
Because?
Because I like the quality of life of doing independent movies. I like the freedom on set. I'm not chasing the big stardom. So when you do a big movie like Jurassic World, which was a great honor, you know, I think Pratt, who was the lead of that, I think he was on like a 4-month international press tour. We did a talk show together, and I had like 2 weeks off just hanging out, and he had just gotten back like the day before from China, and he was on like a couch talking to like live to 4 million people, and his head was spinning, and I thought like,
you don't want that.
No way. But I'm like, I'm so glad it's you because you're great. But I like the I like the indie world a lot.
Now, tell me about this dressing in a catering outfit when a roommate came. What was the point here?
Well,
What's the story?
Larry, that's some weird stuff.
What is it?
So I used to be a caterer, and so did my old roommate.
So you had to wear a chef's outfit? Like
Yeah, kind of the bow tie, the tuxedo top.
Oh,
we had that whole makeup. And we had taken our apartment on Las Palmas, and we had a little bar. You know, we had like people over, we could like sit and have some drinks. And so we did a game one night and said, if one of us brings a woman back to the apartment and calls the other and says, you gotta be Carl, throw your catering outfit on and bartend for the night so that if I'm on this date, it seems like such a high roller, even in this ridiculous world. And we did it once, and it ended up being so weird that we retired Carl soon after.
So you bring the date home and
he did. So I got a call, and he said,
You're a caterer.
He's like, my man, we need to bring Carl out. So I got behind the bar as Carl, and Brian and this woman come in, and they order a drink, and so I make their drinks. We're both bartenders. We know how to do it. And she's like, thanks, I had a tip jar. So he put the $2 in there. But then they're like hanging out on the couch, and I'm watching, and she's like, what is he doing here? And he kept being like, oh, ignore him. But I was just like sitting there, they start kissing, and then they went in the other room, and the next day we were like, we're not these guys, man. This was turning into autofocus way too fast.
Coming up, we're talking about Jake's recent turn in Jurassic World, which broke the record for the biggest box office opening of all time in his incredible career after this. We're back with Jake Johnson. He stars in New Girl and the forthcoming film we're all going to be looking for, Digging for Fire. Now, how did you get to Jurassic Park?
part?
So I did a movie called Safety Not Guaranteed, which was an indie. Probably under the Mumblecore banner, because Lynn Shelton, I think, was part of that, and the Duplass brothers produced it. But the director of that ended up getting Jurassic World after that movie. So we did Safety Not Guaranteed for $700,000, and Spielberg saw it and loved it and met with Colin Trevorrow. And Colin's a brilliant dude, and offered him this movie. So he went from making a movie with a crew of like 35 in Seattle to doing Jurassic. And when he got it, he called me up and he said, there's a part in it, and if I get it, I want you to do it because I want your tone to be different than the rest of the movie. He called me like an editing point, where he's like, when we have all this action with dinosaur and suspense, I want to be able to cut back into the booth, which is where my character lived, and have, you know, some lightness, some comedy, some fun. And so we shot all of my stuff the last week of production.
Shot it where?
In Louisiana. And so my first day was Pratt's last day.
So you weren't out in the jungle?
No, I had the best job ever. I was like this, and they were all talking about the heat.
How well it did?
No. I mean, probably how well it did, but Colin Trevorrow is a smart guy, and he calls his shot. He's one of those guys, he knows what he's going to do, and he would say how people will react to certain moments, and they have.
What do you make of this trend that independent directors get blockbusters?
I like it, because a lot of these independent directors are showing what they can actually do. So I think when you get to directing on bigger things, or a lot of times it becomes directing by committee, and you have 7 executives in someone's ear helping them and guiding them, and at that point, it could almost be anyone. But when you're doing something independently, it's just you. So if it fails because of you, and if it succeeds, it does because of you.
Was he nervous about taking on this bigger budget, a Spielberg thing?
I honestly don't think so, which is crazy. I think he was fine with it. I think he felt very ready, and you know, he was.
Did your independent friends feel you had deserted them?
Oh, I don't have any friends.
Come on, Jake, taking on the big-time Jurassic World.
You know, I don't think any group claims me, to be honest. I don't think the indie world, you know, thinks I'm their guy, and I don't think the studio world thinks I'm their guy. So I think they all just keep wondering why I get jobs.
You're always drifting toward comedy, right?
Yeah.
Except Digging for Fire, right?
You know, Digging for Fire, when we actually shot it, we were thinking it was going to be funnier than it ended up being.
What is funny, too?
Yeah, there's some jokes in there, but as we were shooting it, it just felt more dramatic, and not even dramatic's the wrong word. It just felt more quote-unquote grounded, because it's a story about a relationship, and they take a weekend apart, and my character's at home with this body, and she goes off. And so it was more grounded and more realistic than lighter and comedic.
So what do you want to do? You don't want to be a big star.
No. I want to do...
What do you want to be? 10 years, Jake Johnson.
I want to be doing movies that I really care about and that I really love to do. And I don't need to do a bunch of them, but when I do them, I want to really believe in the story, and I'd like to be co-writing them and producing them.
What would happen, though, if you got a major film, you were the star, it was a breakout film, and now they're all after you? China, Britain, Russia. You got to go on these shows. Got to do the red carpet. Jake Johnson above the marquee.
You know what I would do, Larry? I would ask to do a commercial over there so I could make like $1 billion to like drink a beer in a Chinese commercial, because I like that money. But I don't know, I don't see myself, you know, the truth is there's always these paths you can take as an actor, because you're at these meetings with big executives and they'll ask what you want. And to get that job and to be that guy, you've got to fight so hard for it. And I'm just not going to fight for those jobs. Now, what I love doing in the big movies like Jurassic World, because don't get me wrong, I loved being in it. I loved being on set. I loved being in a big winner. But I really loved my role in it. I like on those big scales, I don't need to carry the movie. I just like to be at the party. But I'm happy to carry something if it's smaller and I get to control the content a little more.
You married?
I am, yeah.
Does your wife work?
She's a painter. She actually did that dog right behind your head. It's beautiful. It's photorealistic.
So you're ambitious.
Yes.
But not for that kind of a...
Well, I love to work, but I love to work on things that... Look, here's the truth. There are just projects when you get on and there are too many people and it's really big. It's the same thing I was saying about a director and 7 people in their ear. There's a certain point where anybody can do that part. So then you just become a a very high-paid puppet for a studio.
Or you love the scene and you love doing it.
Yes.
Did you feel more pressure during doing Jurassic World, knowing the investment they had in that movie?
Not me. No, I didn't feel any pressure. I had a blast.
That's great.
Up next, Jake Johnson tells us the truth about drunk history. Plus, we'll play a game of If You Only Knew. Don't go away. My guest is Jake Johnson. I love him. He's on target. He's truthful. Is it true that drunk history was inspired by you?
Yes.
Tell me how.
Because I drank too much one night while hanging out with Derek Waters, the true creator of the show. We were in our mid-20s and hanging out and decided to have a throwback college night where we got a case of Miller Lite and we hung out in my apartment and played heads-up quarters and got Gabby and just started talking and having fun. And my buddy, Bill Bungeroth, who now directs Second City in Chicago, when we were growing up, had this great Otis Redding story about the day Otis died. This was before you could check things on the internet. So a great story in a bar was just fact.
Sitting on the dock of the bay.
Yes, and if you could tell a great story, then that was the truth. And so he told me this story and it blew my mind. And Derek and I got drunk in about 2004, 2005. And I go, oh boy, do I have a story for you. And I told it to him. It's probably got 2 minutes of content, the story. It took me about 45 minutes to tell it. And I thought, man, I just blew this kid's mind. The next day he called me up, he goes, I want to come back over, I want to get you drunk. Jeremy's going to film you telling that story. And I go,
So the film was about telling the story.
yeah, and then he goes, and then I want to film it as you tell it, and then I want to get actors to reenact that history of the day Otis died. And I go, how come? And he goes, because I also want Otis Redding to be there and fact check it. And every time you lied, which you lied so much, I want him to go, lie, not true. And I go, no way, man. I was a struggling actor. I was like, I don't want my agent seeing me blackout drunk on some YouTube video. And he's like, no, it's gonna be really funny. It's a way to tell history. And I said, I'm out. So he got another one of our friends to get drunk and tell the story. And my other buddy, Mike Sarah, and I were in the first one based off that story. And then drunk history became what it is now.
Cult.
A cult thing, yeah, and it's so funny.
Still on, right?
Still on. They're filming right now.
We have some social media questions. You regret that you didn't do it?
No.
We have some social media questions for you. Kyle Shelton on Facebook. Are you excited or nervous to potentially have a baby on set now that Zoe has popped?
Zoe has popped. Kyle, it's a gross way of saying a lady gave birth. No, we don't. We kind of get instant. Max Greenfield's a really funny guy, and he and I actually play Madden on Xbox a lot. So if there's any shenanigans, it's not fun for others, but we are coaches together, so we do that in between breaks. And I don't think Zoe's going to bring her baby on set. But she's the new girl, man. She's the boss. If that baby wants to be there, it'll be there.
Jermaine Hayes on our blog says, do you find that being part of such a hit show makes it easier or harder to get movie roles?
Easier, because I wasn't getting those roles before the show. I was auditioning. But the trick is if people don't know you at all, it's very hard to get a job. And if they know you too well, then it's very hard. But if you're kind of in that middle ground, which I kind of am, I just have to be right for the part.
Did you enjoy auditioning?
I don't hate it as much as others.
No?
No, it just feels like a weird show. You're just auditioning for like 6 people who don't laugh that much.
Well, we're going to finish the show with a game called If You Only Knew.
Okay.
Right? Remember the first girl you kissed?
Katie Ross.
Where was it, Chicago?
Yeah, the suburbs.
How old were you?
Must have been 10, 11.
What suburb?
Winnetka. And then
And a big band from Winnetka, Glenn Gray. You don't even know that.
No.
Right? Now it's before your time.
No.
Secret talent.
Secret talent. I don't have many secret talents. I'm really good at quarters, speaking of drug history. Quarters where you drop a quarter in a cup.
You could do that.
I'm pretty good at it.
Proudest accomplishment.
Proudest accomplishment. You know, honestly, the proudest accomplishment was coming out to LA and making it kind of work. It was a...
Sure, you came here with $1,000.
Yeah, it was...
Stupid car.
Yeah, I made a bunch of big claims, and then a lot of them came true for me.
Something you're afraid of.
Sharks in the ocean.
Best perk of being a celebrity.
I'm going to sing the 7th inning stretch and throw out the first pitch at Wrigley Field in 2 weeks.
I did it twice. You're going to have a great time.
Very
you keep
good.
the Cub shirt, too.
I can't wait for that.
What never fails to make you laugh?
Chris Farley videos.
What are you awful at?
Math.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Flying.
Bulls or Lakers?
Bulls, for sure.
Cubs or Dodgers?
Cubs.
Is it true you're obsessed with jalapenos?
Oh.
Like Max Greenfield.
Oh, Max. Oh, he's an
Tip us
idiot.
for that.
Oh, he's an idiot. So what that is really briefly, and I won't waste your time on it, we get so bored at work, so we challenge each other who can eat more jalapenos because it like hurts and then you get a stomach ache. I know, it's just because it's like hour 14 and it feels like a sleepover and you're in 8th grade. And so we'll both get stupid every once in a while and just eat a billion jalapenos.
If you weren't an actor, what would you be?
It could be anything.
Childhood crush?
On Growing Pains, Mike Seaver, I believe his name was, the boy, his girlfriend, and I don't remember her name, but she was just gorgeous. And I've tried to like look her up and I can't find her.
Is there something people don't know about you?
I mean, hell, there's a lot.
Give me one thing.
Something people don't know about me. It took me 5 years to get through high school.
You got thrown out?
I decided to take a year off thinking I had a master plan, and that plan didn't work out. So I had to go back and repeat my sophomore year and be a year younger than all my peers.
Wow. You're a great guest, Jake.
Thanks, Larry.
Welcome to stardom. Thanks to my guest, Jake Johnson. Digging for Fire is in select theaters August 21st. The 5th season of New Girl premieres this fall on Fox. Remember, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time.